Hello and welcome to Geeks Assembled. And today we are reviewing a movie from 1986. Um, what if I say, Daddy, Daddy, get me out of here? It's a line from a song, from the theme song called Underground. We are talking a fantasy movie starring David Bowie. It is Labyrinth. So, without further ado, we will talk to these fellow hoodlums. As soon as Ethan's just waved at the camera, we'll go to Ethan first for his opening thoughts on Labyrinth. Oh, yeah, well, you see, you just caught my attention there by going like that. Over to you. Oh, no, don't you hide now. Over to you, Ethan.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's what can you say about this movie? It's a really great, fun 80s fantasy movie, but visually beautiful. One of the most visually beautiful looking movies ever, in my opinion. I mean, the visuals in this this is all from Jim Henson's mind. And in a way, it's sort of like Terry Gilliam with Brazil and his movies. It's just so artistically original. I miss movies like this where it was just so out there and all from the mind of the director. They just went out there and showed them their imagination. And it was great watching this film again because I grew up watching The Never-Ending Story, the first one, and The Dark Crystal, which was another Jim Henson movie and a great one. And yeah, it is just, like I said, a great fantasy movie, very beautiful, great characters. And some of the designs of the characters are just so out there and original. And I never realized I forgot it was Terry Jones that did the screenplay for this. So you could sort of see almost a tiny bit of his stuff in there. And you've got the man himself, David Bowie, who is just next to I've forgotten the dog's name, the talking dog who's a knight. He's my second favorite character. He's just bloody brilliant. But David Bowie as the Goblin King is just the business. I remember watching this as a kid and I thought he was just cool as anything. And the design of him and the look, he looks like an anime character, like the animes of that time. He actually looks like an anime character when you think about it. I wonder if they did look at something back then. I thought, oh, that could be a good look for the Goblin King. But his look in it is just brilliant. And he's cool, he's suave, he's eccentric. You know, he's everything like a good villain. Yeah, sort of a villain in a way, but I don't know whether to say if he is like... He's basically the baddie of the movie, but he's not a full-on... He's a more trickster-like, isn't he, in a way? But you've got great characters. You've got Ludo, who's like the big sort of troll ogre thing. You've got the Fireys, I think they're called, which are the sort of like ones that take their heads off. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. Fun fact, one of them is played by Danny John Jules, who is Cat from Red Dwarf.
Correct. It's correct.
Yes. And I had to listen out to know which one it was. And I was like, oh, there he is. But that bit's brilliant later. I'm going to mention favourite parts later, but all the characters are just, even just the dreamlight from the garbage area where you've got the old hag with all the garbage on the back. It's very beautifully done. All of it is just so beautiful and stuff. And I like at the start where it sort of alludes in a very Wizard of Oz-like way. You know, you've got like a wee toy of the Fiery, you've got a statue of the Goblin King, and of course it throws in your face, Wizard of Oz. I thought, oh, like, we didn't know, like, and there's even like a poster on her wall, which is of the stairs. The big finale at the end, which I'll get to that bit later, which is just great. But yeah, I had a real good fun time watching this. Lots of good fun in this movie, good laughs, amazing imagination. Please bring movies back like this. You know, the minds of Terry Gilliam and Jim Henson. I want movie originality back. This is great. I miss movies like this, where it was just so magical. And as a kid, you're watching like, oh my God, Yeah, all around a good. I love it. It just made me grin and smile so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching this film. It's a nice '80s fantasy movie. Very nice film.
Well, you say bring back movies like this. I know I read maybe a month ago that Henson's daughter and Bowie's son are producing a sort of a sequel.
Ooh.
Yeah, they got together apparently, done a screenplay. Um, I don't know what it's going to involve. I say, Bowie can't be in it, of course.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
you can do wonders with computer graphics these days.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so hopefully, fingers crossed, something does happen.
Mhm.
There is going to be some sort of sequel, and it's about bloody time, I say.
Yeah.
Um, let's go over to Alex and Susan. What did you think of Labyrinth?
Okay. There was over 25 versions of the script. I know I did read the book actually that had very typical of the time. It had the color, photographs in the middle of the book with most of the cast. The book was slightly different than the movie. There was more pratfalls for her. And of course, they did address the elephants in the room about kidnapping kids, the baby brother or stepbrother, and then her, and then the fact in the book that they did address that when they're at the dance and she's in that beautiful gown and all that, he was trying to get extremely close to her, not just dancing close, but extremely close. And in the book, they said, she kind of goes, like that. So I didn't like this movie at first, but it definitely grew on me, and it didn't take years for it to grow on me. It is sort of a Wizard of Oz with fantasy, with goblins, with a very different visual style, and also very beautiful dream sequences if you think about it. And that's the other question, because as Ethan mentioned, the room, if you really look at it, it does sort of cover, except for Judge Dredd and the Cats poster. There was a Judge Dredd book in the room, if you really look at the screen. But everything else sort of alludes to the story. So you kind of wonder, was it her dream became real? Was it the dream sort of became real? Was it using parts of it? It's it's not an easy movie to watch, which is good actually, because it challenges you a little bit more. I do love the songs. Always have loved the songs. I remember in the 80s and the early 90s, there was a couple of video stores that actually got fined for using the sequence, the Escher stairs, and when Bowie kind of flips up, to see her, face to face when he kind of flips over the stairs, sort of. So I didn't like it at first, but I read the book and I've seen it many times, and I really do like it. And it is different. And as we've mentioned several times before, and I've brought it up several times before, um, people don't seem to like taking challenges and risks with their art anymore, which is kind of sad. Unfortunately, I'll say this very quickly. A lot of the reviews for the movie when it first came out were not favorable. Uh, and that kind of upset Jim Henson a little bit. I think the other problem was you still had a lot of stranger danger back then, and I think that made people uncomfortable with the two kids being in this alien world, kind of. And the other fact is, he sort of got typecast into the Muppets. And as we know, the Muppets are a lot cuter looking than the Muppets in this movie. And I think that sort of upset a lot of people. They didn't like that, because he kind of got typecast into Kermit and all that. So I think he might have challenged the audience too much. Right, right. So, but I really really like this movie a lot.
All right. Well, first thing I have to say is shout out to all these cool actors like Katie and Jack Purvis, Warwick Davis, um, Malcolm Dixon, and Kenny Baker. Oh my gosh. You know, there they are, the Time Bandits. There they are, and they are the Goblin Corps, and they're amazing. And they have actually, you know, brought to life so many of my favorite characters and sort of stories in their great storytelling abilities. I'm so glad I saw this again. It's a delightful movie. It's beautiful, and you know, I love the fiery scene. The fiery scene was fantastic. You know, I love the one line that I love most of everything is, "Where are you going with the head like that?" That's awesome. That's like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest line ever. And then like the Bog of Eternal Stench, you know, even if they do make a sequel to it, Terry Jones really was, before his dementia, he in his brain, he had all of this stuff going on. He was phenomenal. He had like this thing that was amazing about his storytelling ability. He could bring anything to life. And yeah, I'm bummed that I am upset. I am saddened that the man isn't the same as he once was. So yeah, that's too bad. And Danny John Jules, oh my gosh, I didn't even know until just now. That's good news. That's fun. That's super fun. He's amazing in Red Dwarf. It's just cool. Anyway, yeah.
So I will also mention that Jennifer Colony, this was not her first movie. She was in other movies with some famous people as well. She had I think about 10 movies before she was considered a serious actress. And she also was in a couple of other movies with people that are now, again, becoming famous and making the rounds. Even though they were around in the 80s, their fame kind of waned a little bit. But like I said, the first 10 movies are very interesting. One is a comedy, one is a fantasy. Then she's in a John Hughes comedy movie in the early 90s. So she's actually done a lot of offbeat movies. And it's funny how people don't seem to realize that because they were so early when she was from 12 to maybe 21 that she did so many offbeat movies, not just Labyrinth. But that's the one that everybody knows, of course. There was a Phantom event last year about Labyrinth. They have done a graphic novel sequel with the baby boy in this movie that's now a teenager in the treatment, and what happens to Jared and what happens to Sarah and all that. And that's more of a graphic novel treatment. It's somewhat interesting.
And one last thing, I like the worm, and I really like and I really like the hands, the helping hands. I thought they were really cool.
Right. Yeah. Brilliant. Stephen.
Yeah.
1986, Stephen. 1986 this came out.
A lot longer ago. Seems years ago. I felt sorry for the baby in it, you know, surrounded by, got David Bowie behind the baby, and you've got all these creatures, and the poor thing is crying inside.
I don't think he was acting.
I was going to say, it didn't look at it to me. Traumatized.
Which is not a baby anymore. What was he think looking back at that now? Oh, David Bowie was brilliant in it. I liked his the air and everything. It suited him. I liked the story. She's going to get to the castle and all this and that.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. I like the she falls down and you got all those helping hands, and Ethan was on about what was it? They do the fire and they've got those heads coming off. I thought that was hilarious. That was, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. Yeah, 1986 this movie came out, and I'll be totally honest, I bought the soundtrack before I saw the movie. Go figure. Because I'm one of his biggest fans, Mr. Bowie. And
I seen David Bowie on Top of the Pops, doing Starman. I thought I did think he was from another planet. You know, looking at his hair, I thought, what the heck? Where's he from? Like, you know.
Well, yeah, he was a man out of time, a man before his time, I think, in music wise.
Instantly became, you know, a fan of his, you know, ever since, like, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm too young to remember when it went out on Top of the Pops, Stephen. You can remember that.
Yeah, because I'm older than you.
But yeah,
much older.
Yeah, Labyrinth. It's a shame. Going back to the when a few years after this was made, Bowie sort of dissed all his 1980s stuff, music, movies. He just said he hated everything he did in the 1980s. He wouldn't play songs when he was touring. He wouldn't play songs from what he did in the 80s because he said he sold out. He went too commercial. I agree with him. He did go commercial. From compared to his 1970s stuff, he did go commercial. But in his latest, he changed his mind. He said, stuff it. Yeah, he liked everything he did. That go figure, eh? Yeah, as I say, I bought the soundtrack before I saw the movie because the music to me makes the movie for me. Without the music in this movie, you just have another Dark Crystal.
Yeah, pretty much. Just to jump in here real quick, I like a lot of his 80s stuff. I understand he made it, so he can diss it if he wants to, or he did. But I mean, I think he's also mad because he got a lot of play on MTV, and that probably got him mad a little bit for China Girl and Under Pressure with Queen and all that. But I mean, I like 90% of his music. I know a lot of people that didn't like the movies and the music he did in the 90s, but I liked it. And of course, he also did a turn on a SpongeBob SquarePants TV movie as well. So unfortunately, we can't ask him about that, where he played another king. So and he even sings too. So
coming back to Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi wanted David Bowie in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
true. That's true.
Yeah, it's too bad he couldn't have been.
At some point in the 90s as well, his name was bandied about for coming back as the Doctor, but never.
I don't care what anybody says. His best album is Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. That is awesome.
Well, that's your opinion, Stephen. I think he's done better albums than that.
Wow. That's my favourite album of his, like, you know.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's from the mind of Terry Jones for the screenplay, but it was, as I've read up somewhere, it was rewritten a lot by someone else. So it was originally Terry Jones, but someone else got hold of it and rewrote it for the movie. I don't know, but and they didn't do a bad job. Henson's puppets or muppets or what you want to call them, you can't fault it. Whatever they did, they were brilliant. The characterization animations, the even the faces, the creature features, as we say, brilliant. I mean, it's a simple story, really. Find the baby, just walk through the maze. And meet a few friends along the way. But as I say, without the music, you would get another Dark Crystal, and that's what the Dark Crystal was missing, in my opinion. Was a bit of uplifting music to keep it going. Good movie as it is, it needed music. They rectified that with music. Whoever thought, I know what, we'll get Bowie to play the Goblin King. No, I don't understand it. The Goblin King looks human. Why are all the other goblins? Why are all the other goblins little? I don't get.
Not only looks human, but is dressed to the nines.
Dressed to the nines, but also has someone else doing the.
The juggling. Yeah.
That's someone else's arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
The other issue is the fact that you have George Lucas also in the movie, as producer and also editing it. So, I mean, for goodness sake, I only heard about one deleted scene from this movie. So we kind of have to wonder how much they actually, had or didn't have. And Henson even admitted that he wanted, he wanted the dialogue to be slower, not as tight. And Lucas said, no, you got to make this tight. You can't have it drag and stuff like that. So,
I mean, as you mentioned earlier, that Henson was so disappointed not with the movie, but with the way it, the way it sort of flopped. I mean, it cost $25 million to make, and it only grossed 12.9. He was very
in the United States, yes.
Yeah, he's so disappointed with it. He didn't make any more mainstream movies after this one.
That is pretty much the end of his sort of.
Yeah, he was so upset about it. He just didn't do any more. It was. I don't understand. It was released in June of 1986 in America, but it wasn't released until December 1986 in the UK.
That's weird.
That is weird.
That's quite a gap.
That is quite 6 months worth gap. I mean, usually it's within a couple of weeks, isn't it, or a week?
And you guys usually get everything before us.
Yeah, you got it before us, but we got the soundtrack in June of 1986 because we got the single "Underground" by David Bowie in June '86. I remember buying it on vinyl, folks.
Well, from what I can remember of the American theaters, I think the fact that it was both this one and the Dark Crystal were so different in the visual style and the fact that they were so intellectual compared to a lot of other movies that were coming out at the time. I mean, remember, you had, Top Gun and other things like that, which is fun, but it's not intellectual, so,
While your bank's still open, then shall we go favourite moments of things what you didn't like? Over to you, Alex and Susan.
Okay, well, my one, just a shout out to Christopher Malcolm, who plays the father in this and plays Safi's father in Absolutely Fabulous. Yay!
True, that is true.
He and then the other Christopher.
Christopher
Ryan, yeah. So really cool, and I enjoyed. Let's see, my favorite moment must be the MC Escher stairs dance, and then the ballroom scene. Those two scenes were out of this world. So good. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Well, like I said, I didn't like this film at first. I did like Jennifer Connelly. I did like David Bowie. the visual style, like the creatures, the goblins, no, I didn't like. Yeah, they are kind of ugly, but then again, it's not supposed to be pretty either. The dream sequences are wonderful. The music is great. The movie has grown on me. It's sort of a fast, more modern Wizard of Oz with less people, which they should do, as long as, and this wasn't a direct ripoff. You have Escher, which they credited for the stairs sequence. Maurice Sendak was kind of mad at the movie. He thought that they stole a lot of elements and visual from his books and illustrations, which they did credit him in the other prints of the movie. But I guess he just thought that Henson and the other people kind of stole it, which in a way is a compliment, or it isn't. I don't know. I think that's another reason why this is a cult hit, because there's so many people that either love it, hate it, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground to it either. So I think that's the other thing too, that a lot of films used to be galvanizing, and I think that's one of the reasons why this, movie has lasted so long. I mean, it probably should have been any other time, any other people in the movie, it probably would have been buried, and it'd be on some video shelf somewhere, and that's it. But it has so much talent and so much energy and so much great dream sequences, and I think people forget that, it was pretty ballsy to make this movie. I'm sorry that Henson wasn't given better reviews, but I mean, again, it became a cult classic, and not everything has to be made to be totally commercially successful. Not everything has to be $300, $300 million.
I like it, and everybody else is idiots.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But like I said, I mean, it's a memorable movie. Once you see it, you don't forget it. So I mean, it's pretty much done its job. I didn't really like The Dark Crystal, but I bumped into a lot of people that thought it was very intellectual and very smart, and it didn't sell out. And some people love it because there isn't any, rock music in it.
Yeah, I agree with Susan. Everybody else is an idiot. I was just wondering, because one of the characters, is it Hoggle? And Kenneth Connolly's character keeps mispronouncing his name as, is it Hodder?
They do different names, don't they? It's like different names all the time.
Hogwarts.
Hogwarts, that was it, Hogwarts. And I'm thinking, I wonder if...
what is this, Harry Potter now?
Yeah, I wonder if J.K. Rowling...
heard something
from this movie.
That'll do for the school, that.
I wonder if she's sat and watches. Oh, Hogwarts, that's a good name.
Be amazing what sticks in your mind, isn't it?
Yes. Ethan, have I been to you? Have I?
No.
No. I won't got you. Stephen.
Right.
Yeah.
Who are you going to, Ethan or Stephen?
I'm going to, hold on, let's toss for this. No, we'll go to Stephen. Go on.
Yeah, favorite moments, is it?
Yes, if you want to do that, or shall we talk about something else?
Favorite,
I don't want to.
favorite moments for me, the helping hands and the that wall, which is never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Part with the baby crying, and you've got all those creatures and Bowie there. I like the senior the scene with the route she's gotta take, all those. We're making our way to that castle.
Yeah. Rightio.
Those heads coming off, and she's climbing up the rope. I got those heads coming up. I thought that was hilarious. That
Where you going with a head like that?
That's a good line. I like that.
I like the. I like the whistle, like they're playing soccer or something, like they're playing an actual game. Remember the whistle? Yeah.
Right, we'll go to Ethan.
Well, as it's been mentioned, like Lee, I'm a massive David Bowie fan. This guy is one of my heroes, idols, and influences. I love it. The soundtrack in this is brilliant. Even the background music as well is brilliant. The songs are brilliant. All of it's brilliant. I always liked that crystal. And I remember watching a making and seeing that it was a guy, it's somebody else's hands. And I've still got it up in the attic. When I was a kid, I have this red ball. And I used to try and practice it. What else? There's so many good bits in it. My other favourite character in this was Sir Didymus, the dog. He was just bloody hilarious. And the fact that his stallion is this big shaggy dog. And all the sound effects for him were hilarious. Like when the dog goes, and then runs off and he's like, "You, get back here now." No, no. And even just like when he tries to charge into the back, but the dog goes the other way and he's being chased by the goblins all around the city until he goes, "If you don't stop, you will never eat again." And he slowly just walks in. He just made me laugh to the Didymus. Anything with all the scenes with David Bowie are brilliant. He's just, like I said, mega cool. He's just to me one of the definitions of cool. He just is. He plays it so cool. And as it's been mentioned, the hand scene. I mean, that's just, again, it's back to that whole imagination thing and showing your magic. I wish there was so much creativity in movies like this. And I don't know how long they must have done this, to get the hands to shape a face going, "Hey there, do you want to be dropped?" That was just great. That was just brilliant. And like I've said, the Fireys, where they're taken off, that's a great visual scene, where they take their heads off and one gets his eyeballs out, like roll the dice, and then swallows them, eats them, and they're back in his eyes, back in his sockets again. That is just so visually good. The dream sequences, like the ballroom dancing, that's a very cool, beautiful dream. The whole final battle is really good. The whole finale from the gates, where the gates close and it turns into a big robot. That's just bloody brilliant. That is brilliant. Like I said, when the dog runs off on that bit and they're trying to fight him. And like I said, the fight in the city and then up to the castle. That whole stair bit is just beautifully done. I mean, I need to watch the making again to see how they did this, but it's just so cool. Even just when David Bowie, I remember, thought this was one of my favorite bits. When he comes up the stairs and he's just walking along, that's just beautifully done. I think those are probably my favorite moments. There's so many more probably, but those are the ones that I just stick in my head. Those are probably just, they're just so well done. And I just wish he got more recognition for this movie and more appreciation at the time anyway.
Yeah.
It's, if we got more movies like this, it would just been great. But like you said, hopefully we're going to get a sequel to this movie. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Because, my God, is this a beautiful movie. Beautiful looking movie.
Yeah, I will say that you've got Henson's daughter, Bowie's son, doing something that I don't know how long it'll take them to get something together. But
and you've got obviously a son, Brian Henson, who is also Hoggle.
Yeah.
Hoggle, whatever, in this.
The voice, yeah.
As the voice of him. So you could always bring him back. That'd be a treat just to hear that voice again.
Well, like I said, I think the other thing too is it probably scared a lot of people. I mean, it's so funny too because people forget that movies are visual. So I've done it a few times where I've tried to do like the the glass ball or whatever and juggle it like he did or whatever, even for a second. And they go, "Oh, have you seen that movie? Because you're doing it just like, you know." So I think the other thing was, I think it also scared a few people when they saw the age difference, I think, too, and the way that he has a presence in the movie. And I think that kind of, you know, scared people, too. I think it challenged them too much, and they didn't like it.
I think
Well, he wasn't human.
Yeah, he was a goblin.
He was
King.
a goblin. He could have been 6 years old.
Right.
Goblins may have a really truncated lifespan. I don't know.
Yeah, carry on, Ethan. You keep going, Ethan. You said something.
Sure. Oh God, I forgot what I was going to say now.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think I was going to say. Oh look, there we are. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This was probably bad of me, but I couldn't help but laugh at the baby song. Just when it cuts to that baby in the center, surrounded by all these goblins, I couldn't help but laugh at that baby must have been traumatized seeing these looking. Right, we'll just put the baby there. Just act away. I'm not acting. What is this? What are these things? All these creatures looking at him.
Yeah, because what? The baby
wasn't even. The goblins were very good.
Yeah, the baby wasn't even 4 years old, so I don't know how many memories it would have. The baby or the well, now he's a man, so. Yeah. But I don't know how many memories he would have of that.
Yeah, that scene. The magic dance scene, isn't it?
That's the magic dance. Do you know the babe?
Yeah, you could tell the baby was crying its eyes out.
Yeah, thinking, what the hell is going on, Mum, Dad? Why have you left me in this room?
Boy picking up the baby, swinging it that way. Yeah.
Well, no, part of it was a doll, but unfortunately, they're still at an age that if you throw a lot of activity or a lot of people around them and they're not familiar or they don't want to play, it can scare them, unfortunately. Mm. And we don't know if there was a lot of noise on the set or not, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I was one of the ones that thought the goblins looked really good. I thought they all looked, because each one was different. None of them looked the same. They were all pretty different. Even in the beginning bit where they're all waiting for her to do the spell, I thought that was hilarious. They're like, "Come on, say it." And the big one's like, "Has she said it yet? Shut up." And then "Oh, she didn't say it right." It's simple, but it's just good fun comedy from these guys. Just these little creatures.
Yeah, that's one of the deleted scenes, actually, which was she took a broom, like when the goblins pop out of the bed or whatever, the headboard, and she actually takes a broom and tries to, shoo them or chase them away. That is one of the official, deleted scenes that they didn't put in the movie.
Well, I think those are my favorite scenes. I don't want to go through the whole film because it's so much. But anyways, those are my favorite moments. Over to you guys.
Sorry, that my picture frozen, but I'm back. Yeah. What can I say about this movie? My favorite scenes. Anything with Bowie in it. I just like from beginning to end. The beginning of it, you get the song Underground. A different version, but then you get the normal version. You get magic dance with the goblins, the baby, brilliant scene. But it's the scene of the masquerade dance, the dream sequence, that is so beautifully done. To the song As the World Falls Down. If anybody wants to check that song out, it's on YouTube. As the World Falls Down, David Bowie. It's just such a brilliant song. Yeah, all the scenes are brilliant. The stairs scenes are brilliant. The hands scenes are brilliant. As Ethan pointed out, the big robot scene, comes from the gate. Yeah, it's an enjoyable movie. It's, as I say, it's just a shame it didn't get the recognition back then, but over the years, it's gradually built up a big following. I like movies like this. It takes you away from real life, and I hate being stuck in the real life. You know what I mean? I like to live. I like to live in fantasy. It's just me. So there's loads of things I could mention this, but you've all mentioned other things what I was going to mention. So, anything else? What anybody else has to say, or shall we go to final say and scores? Nope. Okay then. We'll go backwards. Ethan. Well, I just get my balls out again and play with them.
Oh, those balls. Oh, that's all right. I thought you meant something else.
Oh, matron!
I was about to go, ah!
Geeks assemble after hours. Uh-oh.
Oh, those balls. Oh, it's all. I'm actually going to give this a 9 out of 10, actually. No, 9.5 out of 10, actually. Just because of how beautiful it is and the soundtrack and everything. I'm going to give it a 9.5 goblins.
So where's the 0.5 gone?
Do you know what? I don't know, actually.
Oh, you've got to have an excuse for deducting the 0.5. Come on, why?
So what Lee's gonna give it?
I don't know, actually. Yeah, why am I giving it a 9.5, Ethan, you dummy? I don't know. 10 out of 10.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know why I said 9.5. 10 out of 10, Ethan, you dummy.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want 9.5, you can have 9.5. I just want to know why it's a 9.5. What is that 0.5 deducted for?
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I just thought, and I thought, but then I'm like, Ethan, why are you doing that? I don't know. 10 out of 10? 10 out of 10.
It's 10 out of 10 from Ethan, you see? This is how you persuade them. We'll go to Susan and Alex.
He was easier to convince than the knockers on that one door.
Really?
Really?
What the pair of knockers they were.
Yes, all right.
Oh, Mason. No.
Oh, matron. Oh, Goblin King. Okay.
All right. Well, I used to have this on a video with a bunch of other cool things like trippy cartoons and other stuff, and I can't find it anywhere. So thank goodness Alex had it, and we were able to enjoy this. And I know that he really likes Jennifer Connelly, and I really like David Bowie, and I really like goblins, and I like fantasy a lot. So grateful that we got to see it, and because I enjoy it so much, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 fiery heads. Where you going with the head like that?
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 9. Originally, I didn't like it. I do like Jennifer Connelly. I do like David Bowie. The music is great. That's one of the reasons why I grew to like this movie, because of the music. Like I said, it's a cult movie, so that kind of means by definition, not either everybody doesn't know about it, or you either love it or hate it. Jennifer Connelly has said that a lot of girls actually have seen the movie, like her in it, so that's kind of interesting. It's got a little bit Wizard of Oz, a little bit Rockstar, a little bit fantasy, a little bit Sleeping Beauty, or is it Cinderella? Well, yeah, Sleeping Beauty, I think it is, because of the poison apple.
Yes.
But it's also kind of funny how in this movie she does help herself. Even though she gets help, she's not helpless. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, or they only see this at face value. it is a little disturbing when David Bowie says, do what I say and I will be your slave. And I kind of went, ugh. Maybe they should have redid that a little bit.
No, that's right.
But the thing is, people that get upset about that are also forgetting. It's a fantasy. It's a quest. It's a challenge. And she beats it. And she does fine. So just because at first it looks awful, that's one of the rules of fantasy. That you don't take anything for granted. You don't just take things at face value. You don't just accept things because it's pretty or something like that. I think that's the other reason why people like fantasy, because there's always a philosophy or a train of thought behind it. And like I said, I think the problem too is the fact that people took this at face value and not really thinking about the movie. And also there was a lot more glamorous movies coming out at the time. And I think that's why people didn't want to be challenged. And I think that's the issue why it didn't do well, because it was Top Gun and other movies like that.
They're lost. They're idiots.
Okay, well, but again, we also mentioned how, it came out in America, it didn't do that good, it didn't make back its money, and then what? It took 6 months before it was in England, the movie, even though the soundtrack was out before the Americans had it. So I think that might be the other problem, is the companies too. And people forget that also affects movies as well. The companies and the producers and the marketing as well can also affect how a movie does.
True, that is true.
Yeah, but I'll give this a 9, and it's still one of my favorite movies.
I'm not even gonna try and persuade Alex for that extra point, because I know it's pointless.
That's his highest score.
I know. He will not budge. Once he's done a score, he will not budge.
But that's his highest score too.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Stephen.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie very much. I'm gonna give it I think a 9 out of 10.
Wow, 9? How dare you?
Yeah, 9.5.
He's joining Alex. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm gonna beat Alex. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
He beat Alex.
He changed his mind.
I changed my mind. I'm gonna give it 9.5. How's that?
It's a high score. It's a high scoring round, folks.
Yeah, it is.
And for me, I'll give it, just because of Bowie, it's a 10. It's 10 knockers for me.
Ooh,
yeah.
big turn.
There we go. 10. There we go. We need 10 of those. 10 of the balls.
Them balls. The balls are over there. If you can do it.
Oh my God, you guys are so funny.
Everything. Anyway.
Yeah, it's 10 out of 10 for me. I just the score, the songs, and Bowie.
How many songs are on the soundtrack there, Lee?
Now there's 12 track soundtrack.
Wow. Holy schmoly! I mean, isn't this 1986? What the heck? That's a lot of songs.
Admittedly, there's some instrumentals. There's about maybe 5 with Bowie singing on them. So it's not bad. You say you've got Underground on it, Magic Dance, Chilly Down. I think that was on with the Heads.
The Furies. Yeah,
Chilly Down.
As the World Falls Down, which is a brilliant song. So go check them songs out, or even go buy the soundtrack or download it.
Mm-hmm.
Go buy the DVD. Download it. I'm not saying do anything illegal, of course, but
I got some news to tell you. I've seen this.
You've seen what?
I've seen the movie we just reviewed.
Have you? Never. Thank God for that.
In the DVD section in the shop.
Oh yeah.
Which is all DVDs for 50p. So I've seen Labyrinth for 50p.
Wow.
Oh, there you are, a bargain at half the price. Yeah, it's. I recommend it if you just want to put your feet up, escape from the real world for an hour and a half. Labyrinth is a good choice.
Yeah. Well, they have one on. They
Yeah,
have.
it is, actually.
They have a set on Amazon where they have. I guess the case is like the staircase. One of the staircases. So
All right.
I guess they have
Right,
like 6. Yeah. I was trying to find out how many different versions of this movie there are, but I know there's at least 4 different ones from Amazon in the U.S. And one of them is shaped. The case is shaped like a like the staircase.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what version that is. It just is the collector's edition.
So is there a lot of extras like the puppet stuff and the filming stuff?
The making of, behind the scenes, photos, concept art, storyboards, trailers, stuff like that. So yeah, well, it's a good movie if you want to just escape from the real world and enjoy a bit of fantasy. So score for that movie, to be nothing below a 9, which is good. Which is quite good because sometimes we can get low on these scores. Yeah, Susan's mind is blown.
Terry Jones blows my mind.
Well, Terry Gilliam blows mine.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. So I like you. Thanks, guys, for coming. It's always good to sit down and talk movies and TV. I enjoy what we do. You guys out there, if you want to join us, hey, get in touch. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We've got an Instagram. I post things on Instagram about what we do. So if you can find me on there, I'm on there. I can't remember what my name is.
Lee Wilson 70.
Bloody hell! You see, there you go.
And then we have a Tumblr, which is Geeks Assembled, and we have a presence on YouTube that is fun.
We are just global. We are going to conquest the world, and then we're going to go out into space and conquest that.
And you're only allowed to throw your own head.
Geeks Enterprise.
We go with the head like that.
You're only allowed to throw your own head.
Look at those two lovebirds. And on that note, we will say, for now.